Welcome back to Mini Brothers. So we have a big project we're working on. I don't know if I've ever seen a video about this, so we're gonna try something. Now, I heard about this through a conversation with a friend on Instagram.
Go past me, little Mini, go on.
Great.
My God.
He told me that a race team is doing that. Here's the post from the race team. So we were talking about it and I figured I'd give it a try. Now, I know those Mini fans who are familiar with the R53. What they did with the R53 was they took some of the supports from the convertible and they put them on the coupe. And the idea was to make it a little more stable. This is the same sort of thing that we're doing with this car now. We're gonna take some pieces and some parts, some OEM parts from the convertible, from the F57, and we're gonna put them onto my car and see how it handles, see if it impacts the stability of the car. It should. Let's look over the parts and let's get started on that. So along with this job, we have a bunch of different hardware. You have bolts for the new belly pan, bolts for the covers, the cover for the belly pan, and then this is for the lower V support. And then there are an assortment of clips and things that I needed to replace. These white plastic clips actually get brittle and break after a while, so decided to see which ones I can replace. So I kind of went overboard and got all the things that I needed. So we're gonna try and get all these things back together using some of this new hardware. So the first part of this is to get the bumper off. So we're gonna start with taking that off and getting to the area so that we can replace the bumper support. So you have these nuts that need to be removed. There's 5 on the top, and then underneath the car, there's gonna be, I believe, 5 more. There's also a bolt behind the front wheel well that needs to be unscrewed. And then this piece here, need to pop this piece up, and there's a bolt behind this that keeps the bumper in place, so we got to take that off. Once you take those all out, the bumper just pulls right off. So really quick job. So let's get started on getting that all off. Okay, so underneath the bumper we have 5 of these bolts. I believe they're 8s. So we're going to take these off now. So my car has fog lights, so we need to unplug the fog lights. Okay, and then the bumper comes off. So we need to take off this foam piece here, which was held on by tape. That's good to know. But this is one of the pieces we're going to replace so that we can mount the lower V support that's going to go here in front of the intercooler. So we need to replace this, so this needs to come off the car. So we're going to take out this bolt here, and then get these 2 on either side so that this pops off. So that piece has a little bottom bracket. This needle, this point at the bottom points to the outside of the vehicle. So just something to note. So the bumper support, this goes on the underside of the bumper support, so the bolts go through here. Okay, just wanted to compare the 2 bumper supports from the car. So this is the one we're taking off the car. Now it looks like from the top they're identical. But what's different, if you flip them over, the new one has this bolt hole right there that the old one doesn't have. So you see you have 3 here and you only have 2 there. And the lower V support bolts in right there. So we're going to go ahead and slide this onto the car. So we're going to install the new crash bar, and it just goes right into place with the old one. You just have to line these holes up. Remember to put the clips back in. Okay, we've got the bumper support on the car. We've reattached the upper V support, and now we're gonna put the lower V support on the bottom of the bumper, which is gonna go in front of our intercooler here. It's our Wagner tuning upgraded intercooler, so we're gonna put it there. It'll cover that, and then the new belly pan attaches in front of it at the bottom right here. Okay, since we cannot get the lower V support, we're going to make a go at replacing this crash piece here. To do that, we have to take off these two bolts in the back. There is a bolt up in the front here that some things bolt onto, and then there are two on the other side. And then this whole piece should be able to come off, and then we'll be able to unbolt it and replace what we need to replace and get it back on the car pretty quickly. Did that jack the car up?
Tiny bit, yeah.
Okay, so to get to the part that we need to remove, which is this, we actually have to take out the brake duct to get to it easier. And the brake duct is attached to this front assembly using this bolt here and then this little clip. And then in the lining, the wheel lining, there are a couple clips top and bottom. And then this piece, which is the brake duct, will just be able to pop off, and then we'll be able to get access to this piece that we need to replace. So we had to disconnect the ambient air temperature, which actually plugs right into the air duct on the brake duct on the driver's side of the car. And then we removed the connection to the brake duct, and it pops out. Now these two bolts, this bolt needs to be removed. Once we get that done, we should be able to pull this out once we unbolt the two in the back. Okay, so we have run into a little issue here, and we're going to have to come up with a solution for this at some point. But we tried to put this lower support beam on, and it interferes with, well, our intercooler interferes with the lower support beam. As you see that kink right there. Now the OEM intercooler doesn't go as high as this Wagner tuning intercooler. So you wouldn't have this interference with the OEM intercooler, but I would imagine a lot of people who are trying to do something like this are probably tuning their cars. So we're going to have to come up with a solution of what to do with this lower V support, because the new belly pan bolts in to the bottom of it in two places. So let's figure that out. Okay, so this is where we are right now. As with any little project, you run into little issues. We've already had the issue with the lower V support, but we just figured out that this piece, which we're trying to replace that piece with, is riveted in here and here. So we're going to have to drill these rivets out and then replace them, and then get this back together.
Oh my god, are you kidding me? No. Did that just snap? That's insane. Okay, hold on.
So that's a comparison between the car that's coming off the car, which is this one, and the one that's going on, which is this one. You can see there are two holes to bolt on the belly pad. So it doesn't have those two holes, so that's why we replace this part. Rivets out, so we're able to get these parts off. Now we're gonna bolt them back up to this. Get this back on the car. Get the car back together. Okay, so we've got the belly pan sort of installed. We're able to bolt it up on the sides here. We're able to bolt it up on the sides, but there's a Rivnut that goes here that we haven't installed yet, so we're going to have to put that in. And it also appears to require a couple Rivnuts in the back. We do have some we can put in there. We have the bolts for it. So we're going to get those installed another day, but for now we'll just hold it up by these two side bolts. There is a place here that we can stick a bolt, so we'll put that in. And then to put the cover on it, you have these little clips. I think there are about 10 of these. So we're able to put the clips in, and so we will be able to put the cover on it today. So that's a current setup. Now the lower V support, because I have the intercooler, it wouldn't have worked anyway because we don't have the clearance from the intercooler at the bottom either. Good thing we didn't try and get that on, or we couldn't get it on over the top of the intercooler. So if you're doing this, just skip that part. I think it's pretty rigid the way it's bolted in now. I think you could probably get away with not having it bolted in the front, especially if you could just get the other 8 bolts in. I think it'll be solid. So we've had the belly pan on the car for about 2 weeks now. We're actually heading back up to Zachary's house to continue the install. Right now we've only put 4 bolts in to hold it up. And I just want to give my impression on how the car feels with just the 4 bolts. Now, the car's noticeably stiffer. What I notice is that at slow speeds, you feel much more of the bumps in the car. It's not uncomfortably stiff, but it is definitely noticeably stiffer. At high speeds, the car feels more comfortable. And what I think is happening, and anybody leave in the comments if I'm way off base on this, but this is what I think is happening. I think at high speeds, it forces the suspension, the shocks, to work a little better than what normally happens. So it takes some of the flex out of the chassis, and more of that transfer of shock goes through the shocks instead of through the body of the car. So at high speeds, the there's much more steering feel, but the car actually handles the bumps better. Low speeds, you definitely feel everything. The difference in steering feel is pretty dramatic as well, and that's the thing that I like the most. The car is much more on the nose, it's much more pointy, and you feel the engagement through the steering wheel a lot better, a lot clearer. So that's one of the things that I've been really enjoying about driving the car since we put this on the car. And I think it definitely is a worthy install if you're looking to stiffen up your suspension a little bit, or if you're looking to do track days. That's one of the reasons I put it on the car. I think we will be doing some track days, some autocross with the car, and I think getting this on the car really prepares the car well for doing some of these track days. So let me know if you actually do install this on your car, and what your feedback is, because I think this is a really good part to install if you're doing a full suspension on a Mini Cooper. So we have a few Rivnuts to install, and to do that we have this Rivnut tool. So I got this off of Amazon. It's like 30 bucks or something. So, and it comes with Rivnuts, but we do have a couple Rivnuts that came with the belly pad. We're gonna put those in, and then there's a couple that we're gonna take out of the kit that the Rivnut tool came with, and we're gonna put those in so that we can bolt up the back of the belly pan. So I'm gonna go into a car with Zachary, and we're gonna show you where we're putting the Rivnuts in and demonstrate how this tool works. It's actually pretty cool. I had no idea where the Rivnut was before we had to do this. So let's get on in the car. Okay, so we've got 2 more Rivnuts put in, and these came with the Rivnut tool. So we're gonna put those in. We're gonna put these in, and then we'll be able to install the belly pan back on. Basically, this tool just inserts these nuts and they compress. This compresses the Rivnut in place so that it's now attached. Okay, so we've got the belly pan screwed back up, and basically these bolts are the ones we needed the Rivnuts for, these 2, and then this one over here, and then the other one on the opposite side, right there. The belly pan before was only held on by 4 bolts, 2 on this side and 2 on the other side. So now it'll actually be held on by 8 bolts. Now, of course, we're not going to have the 2 in the front that are supposed to be there screwed up because we can't fit the V support on. So we returned that. But we'll see how the car feels with 8 on. I don't think it'll actually change how the car feels, but it'll be nice to have this more secured. Rivnut tool comes with a bunch of spares. So these are just Rivnuts that you can use. So I'm sure you can buy extra spares if you need them, but I actually think this is a brilliant way to attach things to the car. So get yourself one of these if you're going to be working on stuff like this. Like I said, it's relatively inexpensive. So if you're going to be doing this job, you might need to get one of these, but you'll have all the spares that you need to get this job done. Okay, now we got it all put installed. Now, here's the thing. If we had to do it over again, I would not go through all this trouble. And I don't advise you to go through all this trouble. What I would suggest, anybody that wants to do this, there's a much simpler way to do this. Go to the dealer and get the hex Rivnuts for here and on the other side, so you'll need 2 of those. Because the hole that this bolt goes into is a hexagonal hole. So get the Rivnuts, the proper Rivnuts that go in here, and get the Rivnut tool. This hole for the back is going to be round, so you can use the Rivnuts that come with the Rivnut tool. Instead of replacing all of this cross structure piece, just drill holes, line it up, drill holes, and put Rivnuts in here. But drill the hole big enough to hold these M10 bolts. You can go to the dealer and get these M10 bolts, or your hardware store. They'll work the same. And that way you'll be able to bolt this pan up. It'll be a much cheaper job. You won't have to take the whole front of the car apart like we did. And it'll be much simpler to do. Thanks for watching. If you liked the video, please hit the like button. While you're down there, go ahead and subscribe. That helps us a lot.